Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alpha Name. So we have an article here. Actually, we have two articles here on Ripple.com. And the first article is titled "A Turning Point in Underserved Markets." I love this because we need to. Didn't I say this before I say this next part? Didn't I say this before? Let us not take our eyes off of that unbanked money. There's a lot of money on the table that the traditional banks had neglected to scoop up over the years. The bank coins, XRP, XLM, Algorand, HBAR, Cello, they can scoop that up. We don't ever want to forget that. But it gets overshadowed by all of this bigger money, B2B markets, real estate, value flowing across blockchains via NFTs. It gets overshadowed by things like that. Central bank money, replacing SDRs, chip systems type of things, bridge currency, moving interbank payments. So it's easy, it's easy for the P2P market to be overshadowed, even though it's trillions of dollars, all right? But you never want to forget that. And more than that, you never want the banks to forget that you can scoop that up, because that's a strategic piece. Them knowing that you can access that money means you're here to stay. You cannot be moved, and that you're always going to be a force to be reckoned with. So yes, they have to take notice and they cannot push you to the side. That is a strategic piece. I really believe that is one of the most, that is one of the aspects that makes it's so desirable for the banks to work with the NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions, or fintechs, if you will, because they know that by working with them, they also in turn will be able to access that money. So now we have this article here on Ripple.com titled "A Turning Point in Underserved Markets." Let's begin here. The term gray market might conjure up images of nefarious players exchanging cash in shadowy alleys. Ooh. You know, it's funny. That's exactly how some of the fudsters in the government paint crypto. They like to talk about these illicit practices, which have been being eradicated. Of course, we still have a long way to go. The SEC could have played their part. The SEC could have helped with that over the years, and they neglected to do so. That's something that should be questioned, definitely. While they're going after Ripple, they have neglected to go after all the rug pulls. They have neglected to go after all of the scam coins. So while the government wants to heap this upon the shoulders of the NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions, and the fintechs, and say, wag our finger at you, you guys are being utilized for illicit activities. No, it's not so with all of the regulatory and compliant cryptos, like the banking coins, who have been sitting down with the SEC and governmental entities for a long time with absolute transparency. And they have moved to not only make their network secure, but eradicate that possibility of being used by used for illicit activities. But as I said, let's circle back around. The SEC could have remedied a lot of that, and they did not do so. So the government should be questioning why. But let's continue on here. In reality, gray markets have become an unfortunate necessity for those that lack the financial resources to operate within the traditional payment system. These informal remittance channels are often censured by regulators due to concerns around anonymity in payments, and also by that very, how do I say it? That cordoning off of those particular regions or those particular sectors because of illicit activities, and restricting how their cash flow, how their cash moves, right? That is one of the reasons why traditional legacy system offerings have not been able to access those particular corridors. Because if they could, they definitely would. But see what happens with the bank coins, companies like Ripple, Stellar, Algorand, they're so secure and they're so transparent in what they do, and also the requirements that they have. Like, for instance, you have to have a certain amount of XRP in your account, or surge pricing and the usage of lumens as a deterrent and such like that for certain things that have to take place on the blockchains. These things did not exist before. Obviously they didn't, right? But they weren't even thought of before. And also the legacy system didn't really want to have those expenditures to put out there for the research to be done so that they could benefit from something like this. So, but what they're doing now is the governments and the legacy system, as far as the institutions, financial institutions, they sort of wait for someone to hand something to them, right? So they don't have to put out money. They don't have to put out time. They don't really have to put out extra effort, which we know from the Bank of International Settlements. They said that. They said, listen, we don't want to have to do extra work and thrust extra things on top of our staff, our employees. So do you have something to hand to me? And if you say yes, then what do you have to hand to me? Make sure everything's good, and then we will accept it. That's the point we're at now. But let's continue on here. These informal remittance channels are often censored. Okay, so we read that part. However, without affordable alternatives, individuals in need of an economic lifeline turn to these informal channels despite the risk involved. In reframing the term gray markets to underserved markets, we open the door for potential opportunities. So let me stop right there. So what they're talking about, I like this. So what Ripple doing is pretty much a method of transmutation, okay? So they're trying to change that energy, change that mind state, the mentality. So when they're coming to the table with policymakers, we don't need to say gray markets anymore. Let's change our way of thinking, because once we change our way of thinking, then you understand the application of this new technology and how it can be different and how it can change things for the better in the future for these individuals living in these particular regions, all right, and subject to these types of conditions. So you have to change that mentality first before they open themselves up, these regulators and policymakers, before they open themselves up to accept a new technology, right? That could be possibly beneficial for the world and everyone that is suffering in conditions such as this. So, but let's continue on here. It says, difficulties related to redacted, I'm not going to be saying that word, redacted, are putting underserved markets under increasing pressure. And the advantages of digitization serve as an accelerant for payment companies that are seeing greater value in offering alternatives with the same benefits of trust and affordability, but through fully regulated systems. Underserved Markets 101. Running a payments business is an expensive proposition, and underserved markets have grown up around the edges of mainstream services to fill a need for more accessible alternatives. These markets have a long, rich history, and informal channels are sometimes the only affordable option to send what will otherwise be a fully transparent payments, payments across borders. Okay, so remember Stellar had that panel recently that we covered in a video. Actually, we had 2 videos. Now there will be a 3rd video coming. I had a lot of pages of notes, by the way. That's why there's so many videos on that particular panel. They gave a lot of good information. But on that panel, there was an individual from a supervisory entity that said they tested out a wallet to send money across borders, okay, using one of these legacy system channels, and that there was an insane amount of fees thrown on top of that. So just to send a little bit of money, they were paying about like $80 fee for just sending a tiny little bit of money across borders just as a test. So just imagine you're in a developing country and you're faced with either using something like that, where you're just trying to send a little bit of money to your wife, husband, son, daughter, etc. You have the option of using that, or you can use XRP, which the transaction fees are almost non-existent. And now what Ripple is doing, and I hope they continue to do this, I think they will, providing those digital wallets like what they're doing in Palau will negate from any type of intermediary incursion, or how do I say that? Not incursion, sorry. Intermediary encroachment, where they can throw fees on top of a bank coin, as I have seen personally some other entities do, which is terrible. Why would you could do more business and make more money by keeping the fees relatively low? And you'll understand that when you get that high volume going, then you're starting to see. I mean, look, if you throw a fee on top, it doesn't have to be that high. But what they're doing is it's unbelievable. So yes, I think that they would logically use XRPL in a Ripple-based wallet that's going to save them a ton of fees over a legacy system offering, or over another DLT offering where an intermediary might throw hefty fees on top of what they built on top of that particular bank coin. Okay, so that's just how I feel. I could be wrong on that, but that's how I look at that. Here we go. Informal lifelines. These untraditional payment channels often appeal to the unbanked that have a difficulty meeting capital bank requirements for formal remittances. It is important to note that the number of unbanked individuals is massive, with the World Bank data stating 1.7 billion adults remain unbanked today. So that's major money. Hawala is one well-known example of an untraditional payment channel. This approach to payments relies on an extensive network of trusted contacts like friends or family members that operate around the world, making it possible for people to send money through in-person cash exchanges between countries without losing significant funds to an expensive traditional exchange. Today, underserved markets are particularly prevalent in South and Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Haven't we seen Ripple building deep roots in the Southeast Asia, and with in the Middle East? And who else is there with very deep roots? And they said they wanted it to replace SWIFT. XLM, Stellar is there. LightNet is there. They want XLM in that region to replace SWIFT. Take a look at that video I did on LightNet. Let's go to lightnet.io. You can read it for yourself on their website. Their advisors are from the Stellar Foundation. So we have XRP and XLM deep in those regions. Once again, when they say all of the money, they're really going for it. They actually are. And I think they're going to do a great job, and they're going to take a huge chunk of the world's value and have that floating across these two bank coins, XLM and XRP, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong. There's no guarantees. All right. And this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but as of now, everything is looking good. But look at what they're saying here. Underserved markets are particularly prevalent in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. So what that tells me is that not only are they looking at the B2B transactions that are coming out of these particular regions, which are huge when you're thinking about tourism. It's huge when it comes to tourism in these regions. So they're trying to take a little bit of that. So then you have the P2P transactions over there, which are huge also, because you have a lot of people that are just working. You have a lot of people over there that they're just normal people. They're just working, and they want to send something overseas to their family that might need help financially. Okay, so you have that also, but then keep in mind what they're saying here is we're also not going to forget the unbanked. So once again, we're looking in totality. They're scooping money from the top and the bottom. They're looking at 360 degrees of how we can get money everywhere all at the same time and move all of this money all at the same time. Okay. And that's something that is very, very good when it comes to Ripple. And it ensures that price is definitely going to rise when it comes to XRP. And as I said, XLM is in that same region deep. So that price of XLM is going to rise when everything is up and rolling and all these infrastructures are rolled out. And the Bank of International Settlement says, hey, we have what we need now. Let's get everything started. And hopefully, there's regulatory clarity in the United States. There's going to be a pop in those prices, in my humble opinion, and very, very healthy. Let's continue on here. It says, beyond the natural risk of using underserved market providers, these corridors are now coming under increasing pressure from two fast-moving forces, digitization and redacted. And obviously now there are harsh economic circumstances in the world. Now, with these harsh economic circumstances, once again, let's circle back around. Think about what I said about those legacy system offerings with high intermediary fees, high transaction fees, right? Then think about the DLT offerings that are trying to stack high fees for transactions on top of these particular bank coins, right? Then understand how Ripple is putting out digital wallets for different regions and such like that. And I think it's only going to increase when it comes to the different non-banking financial institutions like Stellar. I would assume that they're going to have wallets. Hedera may have wallets. I'm not sure how this is going to function, and maybe they'll go through somebody else, but like Bit, for instance, because Bit does a lot of the infrastructures, or not really infrastructure, but it molds how people use XLM and the Stellar blockchain. But institutions like that putting out digital wallets, they're going to make sure that those fees are extremely low. Now, what would you choose? Would you choose something with high fees or low fees in these economic times? Now, while you might like a company and you might say, hey, I'll put out a little extra money for this company, I'm used to using it, and I understand familiarity is powerful in the individuals. It will keep them doing something that is not in their best interest when it comes to paying extra fees just because they're comfortable. So I get that. But in these harsh economic times, it's going to force people to question putting out more money than usual, or more money, not more money, but money now that used to be normal to them, but is no longer in their best interest because all the prices of everything are going up. They're going to choose something better. The XRPL, Stellar Blockchain, Algorand, those fees are extremely low. And in times like this, where there's harsh economic times, people are going to choose to save money. They need more food, more money for food, more money for gas, more money for everything, really, to continue to live a normal to semi-normal life. They're going to choose this. And I think people are starting to learn. Now, pair that with the time when it comes time for these foundations and companies like Ripple and Stellar and Algorand to advertise. People are going to remember this suffering they're going through. And when they see these advertisements saying, hey, our transaction fees are 0.0001 of a penny, 0.001 of a penny, 0.0001, 1 XLM, things like that. H-bar 0.00001 H-bar, extremely low. If they hear how low these prices are, they're going to FOMO into these things. That would just be logical. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but that's going to be logical. And what does that do to that price? Of course, that means that price is going to start moving. We're going to get some good volatility as volume goes up. You get a little bit higher transaction value flowing across these particular blockchains. That price is going to go up. Now, is that going to be the big one? Of course not. Of course not. Like I said, I believe everything's going to happen in levels. I think that's just logical. But that price is going to go up. So it's just a matter of time and when. And right now, everything's sort of up in the air because of what's going on in the world. But that's why it's important to watch, important to know the catalyst. Know the catalyst. So there's a few more catalysts on the way. We'll see if they actually come to fruition, but be prepared. Be prepared. Okay. You've seen what's been happening lately. One of the catalysts have been rearing their ugly heads where certain accounts have been getting frozen and hacked. Okay. There's been a lot of things happening. Know the positive catalyst, know the negative catalyst, so you can always be prepared at all times. It's always best for you to know. Okay. Now, also, let me just close out with this. This is a time where the regulators are really taking time to sit down and consider how they want to go about regulating crypto and giving crypto, the banking coins, regulatory clarity. Now, I say the bank coins because they are compliant. They've been sitting down with regulatory bodies and giving them open transparency for a long time. So they are the ones at the forefront, okay? If you really, really want this generational wealth, people need to start calling their congressmen, calling their Senate, calling their mayors, or whoever you can call. Reach out to somebody and let them know how you feel about crypto. Now's the time to make your voice heard. Step forward, okay? Also, show support to these foundations like the Algorand Foundation, Ripple, Stellar Foundation, Hedera. Reach out to them. Show them some support. Click a like button on a tweet or something like that. Let them know that the people are here and we're ready for them. This fires them up. It motivates them. They see that. Okay, so it's a twofold thing that I believe people could do. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not here to give you advice, financial or otherwise, but I'm saying these are two things people could do and I have done myself. To move things forward, we have a part to play, all right? So this is a game of chess. I like to win, and we are winning right now, but we cannot rest on our laurels. We can't. This is a fight. Pick up your sword and your shield and move forward. So now that you have that information, by the way, all of this here, I had a complete other article to do, but I'm not going to keep you here too long. Muy linda, mi gente. Everything's going very good right now. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.